So this is going to be my first video in a long while. It's called David Aaronovitch, the anti-racist, and me, the racist. David Aaronovitch is an eminent British journalist and political commentator who writes for the Times of London and for the Jewish Chronicle, I believe, and other eminent publications. He's more intelligent, better educated, and far more articulate, as you can see from this recording, than I am. And most of his liberal views I share. I used to look up to him as my intellectual superior, the kind of person I would want as one of my tribal leaders, someone I would count myself fortunate to have as a friend. However, some of David's not so liberal views I profoundly disagreed with, namely his views on race, immigration and diversity. I was keen to clarify our different views, which I attempted to do after an event up in town in London, in which he had been in conversation, I think, with Owen Jones, a very left-wing political commentator who writes for The Guardian, which banned me from posting on its Comment Is Free website back in 2010 for questioning and mocking diversity. I approached David after the event and walked with him to the nearest tube station, where we said goodbye before heading for our different tube lines. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I brought up the issue of race and that I couldn't identify with a multiracial nation such as Britain now assumes itself to be, and that I couldn't support an English football team which included players who were not native and necessarily white Englishmen. Not that I'm very interested in football or sport in general. I'm not, but I used to identify with an English or a British team, but only if they looked and were actually English or British. And for me, that means they have to be a member of my nation. They have to be the same race. Not that I would accept a German or Italian player playing in the English team either, but anyway. So I had hoped that David would have some understanding for my feelings, even if he didn't share them, and that we would be able to discuss them. But this was not the case. He thought my feelings racist, i.e. the kind to be simply dismissed and condemned as beyond the pale, as if I were a Nazi expressing hatred for Jews, although even that, I think, one should be able to talk about, a matter I will come back to. If this were just a personal thing between David Aaronovitch and myself, it would be of little importance or interest to anyone but me. But this is not the case. It is of profound social and political importance, not just for Britain, but for Western civilization at large, which is having the madness of mass non-white immigration and diversity imposed on it by its ruling elites, who share David's views on race, immigration and diversity, and condemn any opposition to them as racist, just as David does mine.